Most people think of Alexander Graham Bell as just the inventor of the telephone, but he actually thought of himself primarily as a teacher of the deaf. That is what he devoted his own life to. And yet, he is widely hated in the deaf community for what he did. Bell was actually the son of a deaf woman and an elocutionist father. His father essentially taught people how to speak well. And Bell sort of fused these two things together. His big idea was that he was going to help deaf people to live more comfortably in the hearing world. And the way he thought he would do that is by teaching them how to speak and lip read. As he was doing that, which is a method of education called oralism, he was also forbidding and punishing the use of sign language. He invented the telephone. The telephone's roots are actually in a device he was trying to make to help deaf people be able to see their voices so that they could further refine them. He also met Mabel Hubbard, a deaf student of his, whom he eventually fell in love with and married. And he got in on the ground floor of eugenics. He had this idea that deaf people should not marry each other because he was worried that they were going to have deaf children, and he was very concerned about something he called the deaf race, which he thought was sort of taking over. I think it's really easy to think of Bell just as a historical figure, but the truth is that Bell's legacy is still very much with us today. My own family has a number of deaf people in it, and many of them, most of them, were educated orally. And they carried the trauma of that education throughout their lives. But it's not just my family. Deaf children today still struggle to access sign language. Most deaf children do not have access to sign in their homes or in their schools. I think of Bell's story largely as the story of an organized campaign by a hearing man who had tremendous power and privilege against a socially oppressed group of people. But alongside that story is another story, and that is the story of a powerful deaf resistance, a story of a people who came together to fight for their language, their culture, and their autonomy.